Go ahead, take us in, Grant. I'm not recording that. We are. Yeah. Are we?
Is my right. Welcome to Twigs and Wigs.
Yeah, baby.
The podcast about music.
Sometimes.
It's definitely a circle as well, because if people aren't exposed to new things that they don't expect, they're not going to create new things that you don't expect. That's why a lot of music sounds the same. There's a lot of the same old shit out there. Like,
Oh, yeah.
actually doing this vinyl impressions with the guys, like we try and, I mean, I tend to go for the more well-known ones. I don't know why I've been going for Michael Jackson and stuff, but Johnny always pulls some stuff out the bag, like the one we talked about before, like this album by I've forgotten the name now.
Bahamas. Yeah. See, Rob, they don't know, man. I'm always throwing out loot. They think because I'm from the States and because I'm black and I also rap and I like hip. Yeah, I love hip hop, but don't expect me to be giving y'all hip hop records all the time. Every time I share a record, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna give you some rock. I'm gonna give you some gospel. Like I'm gonna throw you for a loop. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, I'm the same. I'm from Manchester, but I choose like Kendrick. I don't choose Oasis.
Yeah.
I choose Kendrick. That's the thing.
Right, which is super dope. That's one thing that we love to do here, man. Like, we try to let our audience know, like, yo, we might be from different places and different walks of life, but we're musicians at the end of the day, and our ears are like so wide open that we're open to everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, man, if you jumped in my truck and scanned the music selection that I have of CDs that I have in my truck, you'll find Fear of a Black Planet, Public Enemy.
Whew.
Then you'll find Kinda Blue.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Then you'll find Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Great album.
You'll also find The Doors. You'll find Led Zeppelin. You'll find Coltrane.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find Bob James. Like, I listen to everything, man. I listen to groups that you would not even think of. And I remember, like, when I used to compete, I would wear, there's video of me on YouTube, I'd wear a Red Hot Chili Peppers shirt. Because at the time, they were my favorite rock band. And like Raider, I remember, would make fun of me. He'd be like, yo, what, you're gonna DJ for them now? And they're gonna be like, this is my fucking DJ. Rock. Like, you know what I mean? Like, making fun of like what a metal band would sound like.
Right.
It's all about like MOP and like hardcore hip hop. I'm like this kid from Queens with a Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt. But to kind of bring it back to the Ablist, that's why if you listen to that album, you could hear a song like Turntablist Anthem.
Yes.
And there be singing on it.
Yes.
But it's sort of like this jazz tune. Mm-hmm. And that was my attempt of like giving you an interpretation of what a jazz song would sound like with a jazz vocalist, but with scratching.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having an eclectic taste allows you to express yourself eclectically. And because of that, right, I ended up working with Bob James.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because of that,
I just blew Johnny's mind before. Just before you came onto the chat, I said to Johnny, because we've done a previous episode where we talked about the adventures of Slick Rick.
Right.
And we were having this conversation about, the dun 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 dun.
Yep.
And where it comes from. And we're like, oh, do you reckon that? And we said, oh yeah, that's Bob James. I said, hey Johnny, fun fact. Rob played with Bob James.
Yep.
The guy that played the sample.
Yeah. I looked up like, what? Like that's crazy. Yeah.
No, and not only that, guys, like I went to Bob James' house in Westchester, New York, sat in his house. He sent for a car to pick me up.
Wow.
45-minute ride. Damn. I'm at beautiful neighborhood in Westchester, and I'm sitting in his house in the basement with him and his engineer, and we're eating and vibing and making music. And do you think all this stuff ties in together? Because like I'm hearing myself say that, and if I would have had the mentality that the guys had, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like, for example, Sinister, Eclipse, Raider outvoted me with regards to whether or not we were going to go to Loud or Rick Rubin, and they wanted to go to Loud because they wanted to work with, you know, Method Mans and the Wu-Tangs and the Big Puns and the Exhibits and the Mobb Deeps. They what they saw from music was, I want to eventually produce a song for one of these rappers.
Right.
They saw that as a pathway. If my mindset wasn't what it was, to just experiment and explore and try different things and incorporate different genres and use the turntable as an instrument, I wouldn't have developed a relationship with Bob James. The relationship with Bob James came after the Ablist.
Wow.
The relationship, right. I also collaborated with Herbie Hancock. You could go to my YouTube right now, and there's video of me rehearsing with Herbie Hancock's band. We were going to perform at a World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. And in the studio, the guy curating the set was Quincy Jones.
Oh man. Quincy.
Dude, I mean, I was just watching that video before like sitting down to record, and I was just saying I have to ask him about Herbie Hancock, because, you know, like, I went to, you know, like NYU and like down here in Australia and Italy and to study jazz. Mm-hmm. So like, to me and, you know, to everybody that I work with, Herbie Hancock is basically God.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta ask him about Herbie Hancock, man.
Amazing.
And now you said Quincy Jones.
The coolest guy, and took me seriously. Like communicated and talked with me and vibed with me. Like I was, and at the time, I mean, I still can't. I know more music theory now, but at the time I knew nothing about like reading a sheet of music or any of that stuff. As a DJ, from my world, what you do is you just kind of go off your instincts and your intuition, and you just respond to rhythm as you hear it. Whereas like I was in a jam session with like guys that were like literally reading sheets of music and figuring out like where they were, what measure they were, and what they needed to play. And I'm there just kind of vibing. But Herbie Hancock, regardless of that, regardless of what I didn't know, respected me as an artist.
What's up?
So it's like,
that's great to hear.
I think if my mindset wasn't, if I was limited in my scope of what I could be as a DJ, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to come off like negative towards the mindset that Raider had or Eclipse had or Sinister had, because at the end of the day, you are where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can't, if your scope has you targeting producing a song for a rapper, then that's what your scope is. But I'm thankful that my scope was somewhere else, that like I saw beyond just producing a song for an established rapper, because I ended up collaborating with musicians, man, and icons, the people that changed music forever, right. You know? And I think and then that facilitated a whole bunch of other opportunities for me. And I think that's why I'm still standing, being able to train people and DJ. I've just accumulated a wealth of knowledge from being around all these people. So I kind of understand how to like handle myself with regards to my DJing and how to like just remain, you know, literally remain in the midst of all this craziness that we see with DJing and technology and do this and buy that and play this kind of music. I've stayed true to who I am, and I'm unscathed, and I'm still getting the bills paid, and I'm still relevant, and people like you still want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And because of the experiences that I've had collaborating with these amazing musicians, you know, I feel like because I was so open-minded about the potential of where I could take my DJing, it then put people in front of me to help me understand not just how to be creative, but how to live as a DJ and be successful. Because I'm around the greats, people like Quincy Jones, Herbie Hancock, Bob James. I mean, Quincy Jones, dude, like the guy produced Michael Jackson's, you know.
Michael's my hero, my absolute hero. Off the Wall is one of my favorite albums of all time. Off the Wall is amazing.
And then to think that like this kid who DJs, who moves a record back and forth, is sitting in a band and the person curating the music is Quincy Jones. I mean, you can't really put that into words how that feels, man. So I'm really happy and fortunate and thankful that like I always saw the bigger picture regarding what I could do as a DJ, and that I didn't limit myself to just producing a song for another rapper. Yeah. You know? And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but there's more to music than producing a song for Method Man or doing scratches for Mobb Deep. There's so much more.
Yeah, and like I just said to these guys a minute ago as well, like if ever there's a feather in your cap to say, I think you're thinking the right way, it's that Herbie Hancock has a recording called "This Is Rob Swift."
That's got to be a blessing.
I mean,
you got to do this.
I know, right?
That's
insane.
Like,
that's amazing.
What? Like really? Like, dude, like it's crazy, man. It's humbling. And yeah, when I found out that, so Bill Laswell, who's one of Herbie Hancock's main producers, told me that Herbie was going to name the song that I worked on with him, "This Is Rob Swift." Like I just didn't feel worthy, man. And I was just like, how? Like, why? Why would he do that? Like, it has to be a better title, but that's what he wanted to call it. And I think it was just him showing me respect, you know? And yeah, man, I'm just super lucky, dude.
I've got to say,
so cool.
You know, obviously your talent speaks for itself. I mean, we know that. But I think something that people don't have sometimes is they don't understand how important it is to be a humble, nice human being in every situation in life. And in these collaborations, obviously, that must come across from you to these guys. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're an arsehole, you're not going to get Herbie Hancock naming a song after you. You know?
Yeah, Grant.
Yeah, Grant. I'm never going to write a song about Grant. And if I do, it won't be called "I Love Grant" ever. No.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? A couple of weeks ago, with all this stuff that's happening in the States with police brutality and corruption, and the Black Lives Matter movement taking off the way it has, Bob James released one of the most heartfelt messages that I've come across in the last few weeks of all this madness. And he was just literally like just naming one after the other the artists that he respected. And then after like every 4 or 5 names, he'd say Black Lives Matter. And then he'd, you know, run down another 5, 6 artists that he respected and admired. And someone sent me the link and I thought, oh man, this is cool. Like I need to watch this. Like Bob James is, you know, letting people know where he stands regarding this whole situation and racism and all that. And I kind of let the whole day go by. I was distracted doing stuff and I hadn't gotten around to watching the video and sitting down and listening to what it was that he had to say. And when I finally did, I realized the reason the guy sent me the link was because Bob James actually mentioned me.
Wow.
You know? So he's just naming all these like icons, and then he was like, Black Lives Matter. I love me some Rob Swift. I love me. And I'm like, what? I got to rewind this.
To put that in context to these two, I saw that video.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he says your name and then says George Benson.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, like,
right. Man.
Exactly, man. So you're just
yet
like,
again, you know.
Yeah, you're just like, whoa, like how thankful am I? And obviously the context is really sad, right? That he felt that he had to do that. But then when you think like, wow, like this guy mentioned me next to George Benson, you know, like you just realize that you have made this impact on people and that you did it in a genuine way and you never compromised your art, and that's why you're now reaping the you're sowing what you reap. You know, and I've stayed true to this art form, and I never did it for fame or. It's one thing to get respect and for people to know who you are and recognize you. And that's obviously something that I wanted, but I don't care about being famous. Like,
there you go.
I just want people to recognize that I'm giving something back to this art form. And when you're recognized in that way, it's just like, you're just like, wow, this is insane. Yeah. Like, definitely. How thankful do you feel right now,
That's amazing. Fame should be a byproduct of what you do as well. A lot of people are just chasing fame. that always amuses me. Just chasing fame. Chasing, man. That should come, it doesn't have to come, but, it comes from what you've done, not from the main aim being fame. I didn't mean to rap. I can be a rapper as well. So there you go. Manchester rapper.
Yeah, anybody. Shoot, nowadays anybody can rap. I mean, that's like honestly like I started rapping when I was like a kid. My parents didn't really approve of it, so I used to sneak like little composition notebooks, write my little rhymes and stuff like that. As I got older, I just listening to hip hop and how hip hop changed, I was like, man, let me get back into rapping, bro. You know what I'm saying? So like the past like year or two, I got back into like writing more rhymes, and I've always been like a songwriter, you know what I'm saying? So I've gotten back into like the rap side of it, working on my flow, working on my freestyles, working on my vocabulary and things like that. Because I feel like, man, if they can do it, I can do it too. You know what I'm saying? I got a cousin that's big on like this emo rap. I don't know if you guys heard of like the Trippy Reds and the Little Uzi Verts and the all of these new cats and stuff. The what's the guy that just passed? Juice WRLD, rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with that style of music. It's very interesting. I'll just say that, But I have a cousin that raps, and those are like some of his idols. And I've been in, sessions with him. He's come to the crib to record, and I'm just like, he definitely inspired me, man. Shout out to Josh. His name is Jay Trendy. Shout out to my cousin, man, because just watching him and his work ethic, I had to tell him, I'm like, bro, this isn't my go-to style of hip hop, but watching you put a song together is very inspiring. And it makes me say, man, like, I can definitely get up and I can do something like this the way that I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, like to say what you to piggyback off of you, Steve, like any of us can rap, bro. Like if you got a flow, you got some lyrics, man, it rhyme, it sound good. Why not, Shoot.
Talking about rapping, to get back to the album, Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. Was that a real telephone from the penitentiary, or was that an effect in a studio?
Oh, that was a real telephone call from the penitentiary.
That's amazing. His flow is sick. He doesn't miss anything.
So just to give you guys backstory there, as a kid, I grew up in not the best of neighborhoods. There's a part of Jackson Heights where it's upper middle class. People have families and you go to work and you live in a nice apartment. And then there's parts of Jackson Heights that it's more lower class, rough. And next to Jackson Heights, there's a neighborhood called Corona, Queens, which is even rougher. And, you meet people from different walks of life, kids from all kinds of family backgrounds and stuff at school, So being that in Jackson Heights was such a mixture of people from different financial backgrounds, you go to school with a kid whose parents maybe were in law. And then you'd also have a kid that in your group of kids that you hung out with that whose parents maybe aren't as well off as the other kid whose parents were lawyers. Yeah. And as a result, a lot of my friends chose to do a lot of things to make money. And Tone, that's his real name, Tony, He was like one of the bigger he ended up being one of the bigger drug dealers in our neighborhood.
Wow.
And, would traffic drug up and down the East Coast, go to Virginia. Yeah, like big time guy.
When he goes statewide, that's a big deal for you guys, isn't it? When he goes over state borders, am I correct in saying?
Yeah, that's huge. When you're trafficking drugs across, the East Coast,
right.
That means that you're like in it with like players.
Yeah,
and, right. But he had this talent. He could rap. And he was one of the kids that would come to my house and be my audience. And I would DJ, and he'd get up and be like, yo, teach me how to do that scratch. Or, yo, why don't you cut up Impeach the President, get your your dad's microphone and let me rap. And we'd make cassette tapes and sit down after we were done making the cassette tapes and play them back for each other and just laugh. And we'd feel like stars because our voices and our scratches were recorded onto something, and now we were listening to it back the way we would the popular hip hop song of the time. And what happens is a lot of these teenagers always come to a fork, and then they kind of decide, is it going to be music or is it going to be the drug dealing? And Tone made the decision to continue on with the drug dealing. Whereas when I came to that fork, do I follow in Tone's footsteps, or do I create my own path and see what happens with DJing and where that takes me? And I came to that fork and I chose the DJing. And we were in high school, and fast forward to 1998, Tone is now in the penitentiary.
Wow.
And I felt like, man, we never got to record together. Here I am with this opportunity. I'm about to put out an album. Let's figure out a way to get your voice on wax. Right. You know what I mean? And I don't know, that's just the kind of guy I am. I always try to help my friends and put people that I love in positions to experience themselves being creative, And for example, we were talking earlier about the skit Day One, where my junior high school friend, my best friend, like I've known him for so long, since I was 12 years old, my boy Dean Gibson, good time. He's saying like, yo, this is you. He rhymed, and he was one of those kids that would come to my house and we'd make tapes and then sit down and listen back to the tapes. And now I'm, able to put him in a position to hear himself on wax. Yeah. And let's do this song together and let's rap about our exes. And you know what I mean? Like, putting together the Ablist was more of a fun experience and more of an opportunity for me to be creative and help those around me experience themselves in a creative way too. So I was in the midst of recording the album, and Tone reached out to me, called me, just to shoot the shit. You're an inmate, you get your phone time, and you call people that you came up with to just see what's going on in Queens, who's doing what. And I was like, dude, I'm working on an album right now, man. And I'm like, yo, are you still rhyming? And he's like, yeah, I still write rhymes every day. And he would rap for me, his rhymes, like over the phone. And one day I was like, yo, call this number at this time. That's Power Play Studios. I'm going to be in there, and I just want to like record you rhyming, dude. And I'm going to put that as a song on the album, just so we could say that we did it. And that's what that's about.
So cool. Was it a choice on your part not to put a beat behind it, to allow him that space for himself, to allow the spotlight on him without anything else? Was that a choice?
Yeah, well, I honestly, the reason we didn't put a beat behind it was because, he was calling literally from the penitentiary. And I like logistically, I don't know how that would have worked. Like, because when you're recording, this is actually a great question. When you're recording a song in a recording studio, you're in a vocal booth and you have headphones on, similar to like how all of you guys have your headphones on and you hear my voice. But instead of hearing my voice in a recording studio, you're in a vocal booth and you hear the beat that you're rapping to. So then you're rapping but being that the music that you're rapping to is in your headphones, the only sound that the microphone that you're rapping to picks up is your voice.
So you don't want to bleed.
It gives you freedom to like mix the track down a certain way and EQ the voice without affecting the beat. Imagine trying to EQ a voice and then you hear like a beat under it. It's like impossible. So I think the reason we did that was more so to just have his voice a cappella and not have like a shit show recording, you know, where it's like the music is kind of like fighting with his voice and there's not much we could do EQ wise, but that limitation ended up kind of making that track just stand alone, like his voice. So it's just his voice. He's calling from the pen and he's rhyming.
It's like a breath in the record. It's like, I mean, it's an energetic rap, so it's not like a moment of silence or anything, but it's like, it's like a step back from the instrumentation that you're doing and the live instruments and everything. It's cool. It's one of my favorite parts of the album, which I know you're obviously not on it, so I don't mean that. But it just that dip, that just change of feel. And I was hoping you were going to say it's real, because I was saying to the guys before, I wonder if they actually, it's a friend of theirs in the studio, and they EQ'd it in a certain way to sound like a telephone, like we can do. But it's amazing that it's a real story. It's real. I thought after speaking to you, I thought you wouldn't do that if it wasn't real. So that's cool.
No, that was him really calling from the penitentiary, and we took the studio mic and put him on speakerphone and just had him rap.
And just let him go in.
Because I wanted him to hear his voice on a record at least one time in his life,
That's what's up.
So
how's he doing? Is he
he's
out?
He's actually out of jail now, but he's like hiding. Like I don't know where he's at. Like he's literally hiding out somewhere.
Hopefully hiding from the bad influences.
I don't put it past the devils to have a dime piece fed. I hold my head and don't let it fuck with my brain. Here's the jewel. Try to spot that wink link in your chain. It's always a motherfucker giving up and wants to snitch, but payback's a bitch. I leave his body in the ditch. Half my clique in the pen, fucking around with a lizard. But if he testifies, I'm gonna pay his mom a visit. It goes rags to riches and riches to rags. Bitches, snitches, bitches, and body bags. I'm locked down, no bubble X and no Rolex. It'll be 2010 before I see the projects. Plus my girl spread her wings when everything began to fall. Between her and the FBI, they left me dry and took it all. Friends and fam caught amnesia. Had love when I was blown. The reality of it all is that I'm in this world alone. I see the bricks again. Whatever don't kill you makes you strong. Correct the things I did wrong. Invest my loot and live long. Whether it's Mike's or triple beam, son, I gotta fulfill my dreams. Check my PO. Live lavish on the low and get the cream. And that's the real for you motherfuckers.
But now it's crazy because you can definitely tell in that record that he took full advantage of the opportunity. Cause my man goes, he's got a hook. And he's got verses, and he goes all for like 3 minutes straight. I was like, bro. And then by the time he recites the hook one last time, you guys are like in the background, like saying it with him, So it's like we heard this hook like already twice. It's like, man, we know the song now. Like we with you, bro. So I love the vibe in there, man. It was super dope.
Again,
super dope.
I had freedom on the 80s. And when you're a creative person, the most important thing isn't necessarily, talent even. It's just freedom. Like the freedom to try things and just express yourself in a way that's organic and true. And it doesn't get any more organic than that, man. Like, no, we're going to do a song together somehow, even if it means you calling from the pen.
Do you also find that, this being released at the end of the 90s and you having your battle career at the beginning of the 90s, do you find having that 10-year span between stopping battling? When did you stop battling? 92, 93? 92, yeah. Yes. So let's call it 7 years. You see, you've had 7 years of growth from competitive, from trying to get better in a competitive sense to just working on yourself and getting better in an artistic sense. Do you feel that had a big influence on the decisions that were made going into this record?
Oh, for sure. That's a great point because, I competed for 2 years, and then after I won my last battle, the 1992 East Coast DMC, I decided I wanted to experience touring. and use battling as a stepping stone to get to the next level, which was now going on a road and exposing myself to a bigger audience, and also understanding what it was to be in a recording studio, because I started DJing for a rapper named Akinelli, who at the time was on the hottest song, a song called Live at the Barbecue that featured Nas for the first time.
Yeah. That's a classic one.
Yeah,
man.
is that the first Nas thing?
Yep.
Yeah, right?
He was like 19 back then or something like that.
All of us were like 19, 20 years old.
It's crazy.
And Joe Fatal, Akinelli was on the album, and Main Source's Large Professor was like the leader of the song. And it was a song that appeared on the Breaking Atoms album, another classic album. But Akinelli landed a record deal off his appearance on that song. Saw me compete in the 1992 East Coast DMC, and I won it. And he went up to me right after I won it and was like, yo, man, I want you to be my DJ. And I started DJing for him. And I knew that I wanted to just experience myself being in front of audiences without having judges dictate whether or not I won a battle. Like, I wanted to just be on stage and like perform and be creative. So I experienced that, and those years helped me develop as a person in the music industry, you know, and I understood from following Ak around the country, touring with him in Europe even, I just understood how to handle myself in business situations, you know, how to ensure that I get my money at the end of the night from the promoter, that the promoter doesn't skip out on me. How to negotiate terms on a record contract, how to hold firm to what I feel I deserve in an agreement with someone. That these are the things that I learned from watching Akinelli move and understanding how he handled himself as an artist in the music industry.
Right.
And so fast forward, you know, a few years after that, I felt like I accomplished all I could being someone's DJ, and I wanted to establish my own name separate of someone else. Like, you're Ox DJ. Like, I didn't want to just be known as someone's DJ. I wanted to be my own proper brand, if you will. And that's when I convinced Raider, Sinister, and Total Eclipse to leave their prospective groups. And I wanted us to just focus on the executioners. At the time, Total Eclipse was DJing for Organized Confusion, Prince Bo, Pharoah Monch. Rock Raider was DJing for Showbiz and AG, and Mr. Sinister was DJing for Common. Yeah, and I was DJing for Ak. And I remember Akinelli, and I sat those guys down, and I was like, yo, we could eat off their plates, right? And make moves when they tell us we're gonna make a move, or we could get our own plate and put our own food on there, and we decide when we're full, whether or not we want more food. And I was just like, guys, man, like, there's gonna come a point, man, where like, you know, we need to like just make a move as individuals and like establish ourselves. And they all agreed. And I was like, yo, let's just leave our groups and form our own shit. And that's how the whole Executioner thing took off. And we ended up inking that deal with Asphodel, and then the whole Rick Rubin thing started, and Loud. So by the end of the 90s, I had all these experiences, you know, and I matured a lot as an artist, as a creative person, and I understood the business a lot more. So yeah, Grant, I think all of that went into that project, and understanding how to negotiate the contract, you know. Thank God, man, that I did that album, The Ablist, because the royalty money that I made off that album paid for the down payment on the apartment that I paid off a couple of months ago.
That's amazing.
You know? So I put a down payment. I had 20 grand saved. It was royalty money that I made off the Ablist album by 99. And I bought my apartment in 1999, and this past May, during the pandemic, I paid the apartment off.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. And I don't say that to brag. I say it more so to just kind of give people perspective that are listening to this. You know, you don't necessarily have to compromise your art or yourself to you know, figure out your path in this and to be quasi successful. You know, am I rich? No. You know what I mean? Like I definitely budget my money, and I have to be conscious of how I spend my money and what I'm spending on and all that. But at the same time, I feel like I'm experiencing life better than my parents did when they got to this, when they first made it to America and had to bust their ass in factories, you know what I mean? And take shit from bosses and stuff like that. Like I'm my own boss, you know, and I work for myself. And I have amazing students like Grant who continue to help me to thrive and facilitate ways for me to put food on the table. You know, like when students like Grant say, yo, I'm going to re-up on lessons, man, I always tell them, yo, thank you. Because you literally are helping me put this week's groceries in the fridge. You know what I mean? And so because of all those experiences and like, because I surrounded myself in a variety of situations, I've accumulated a lot of knowledge and wisdom. So I kind of use that now, and I'm able to like operate and maneuver through shit like a fucking pandemic, you know, and still be okay, you know, and be unscathed. So
respect, man, respect. Well, look, before we run out of time, you mentioned Pharoah Monch, dope MC. For those who do not know, this he is the man. But man, look, I gotta mention the Turntablist anthem, dude. So who's the singer on the hook on that?
The singer on the hook on that is Kia Jeffries.
Jeffries.
Yeah, Kia Jeffries. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Akinele's hit song "Put It in Your Mouth."
Put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I know those.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, that's her. That's her.
Crazy, bro. Like she first of all, she killed the hook, and I love how like you had her, you know, she sang the line, but then in between the song, she's like ad-libbing, doing her thing, and I'm just like, and it's not like some BS. Like she's just kind of like really doing her thing.
Yeah.
She's just doing a little run, little feeding off you guys, and I'm like, yo, that is dope. And then you're going in. You got the you
like
got the
keys, the vocals
Mm-hmm.
from Pharoah, the singing from Kia, the scratching, the beat. It's basically a jazz tune.
Yes.
Through the lens of a DJ like Rob Smith. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's so you know, when you think of like the quintessential jazz band, and like you have like the lady with the sexy voice, you know what I mean? And you know, like images like the jazz band like in the smoky jazz room, and you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I wanted to capture in Turntablist Anthem, but through the lens of a DJ like myself. And yeah, again, having that freedom to try something and not have anyone discourage me from trying it or saying singing and scratching. I don't know, Rob. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't listen to that kind of music. I'm not sure if that'll work. Like, let's just try it, man, and just see what happens. You know what I mean? And that was my whole mindset on the Ablist. Is let's just go nuts on this album, and I want to try everything and just see what happens. And that song came out really dope for sure.
It did. Yeah. It did, definitely. And it's exactly what you just said. It's like you got like, it's just so funny how you used that, like you pictured that because that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was listening to like just a jazz quintet or something, you know what I'm saying? Just jamming, man, you know, and just playing a song.
Right.
It was nicely structured. Then everybody had their bits and pieces where they can add their little parts and their little layers, and it just came together very well, man. So definitely that's the one for me.
I appreciate
And
it.
that's the one. And is that the track that's all four of you on it as well, or is it?
Oh, actually, I think it does. Yeah, like on Scratching.
Because he raps about each one of the executioners, and then
You're right. So it's funny because, see, I was able to compose this song that I think on an Executioner's album might have felt threatening to the guys.
Right.
But on the Rob Swift album, I was able to say, Raider, no, you're going to jump on my song and it's going on my album, and you don't have to worry about it tainting your image or the way people see you as a DJ because it's on my album, and it turned out to be dope.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like it's as if I tricked them into doing something that they wouldn't have done as an Executioners. It was just a different label on it. It was a Rob Swift project. But ended up still exploring themselves in a way that they wouldn't have probably, or felt more intimidated to try if it was an Executioner project.
It's so interesting to talk about this album, like to hear you talk about this album this way, just because I would imagine that most people think this as well. Like if you get a DJ's solo album, so to speak, because you think of a DJ putting out their own album and you think collaboration. But it's really refreshing to hear you talk about the album and saying, and also, but talking about like the Executioners like recording their own albums and that I'm sure back then all the other crews were probably thinking the same sort of thing, but it seems like you guys were maybe the first to do it where you don't rely on collaborations with singers or collaborations with rappers.
We were, yeah.
It's interesting how that flips when you're doing the solo record. You're like, well, they might not have wanted to collaborate, but we get back to the collaboration and then
yeah, exactly. Right.
So do you think that, say, doing something like that kind of led the way to you guys? Was it 2 years later you come out with It's Going Down with Linkin Park basically, right?
Yeah.
And then you're on like MTV with, or you're on Letterman with Exhibit doing the tune, and like
ESPN, MTV. We did the whole MTV Icon thing, opening up for Aerosmith because of the success of Built from Scratch and specifically the song It's Going Down with Linkin Park. Yeah, I think that did prepare me for how to be creative with other people, but know when to pull back and when to like go in. Because as DJs, our background was battling, and it's all about
trying to get
us as individuals on stage and just going nuts, going ham and not caring. And it's all about watch me and this is how dope I am. And that doesn't work when you're in an environment like a recording studio, because it's not all about you. So you can't just make it about your scratches from beginning to end. You got to make it about your scratches enhancing the song that you're composing with these other artists. So the collaborations that I experienced with especially with, like, for example, on songs like All That Scratching Is Making Me Rich with another band, understanding how to scratch with the other musicians opposed to scratching on top of that album. The Ablist obviously definitely helped me prepare as far as my mindset and approach to all the stuff that we did on Built from Scratch, for sure.
What's your favorite collaboration, if you could just choose one? I know it's difficult to do because you've done a few, but like, I mean, would you think more on the higher end scale, as in the MTV stuff we're talking about, or more personal, like you're saying with the band? Yeah.
I think from a personal perspective, the collaboration that I appreciate the most, I can't narrow it down to one. It has to be three, man. Collaborating with Bob James, working with Herbie Hancock, and getting creative with Large Professor. Those are the three entities that I feel have really shaped my name and my career.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, my mentor, Dr. Butcher, has helped me with a lot of projects, and I always enjoy making music with him. But that's more of a interpersonal thing, that a connection that he and I have, similar to the connection I have with my girlfriend. Like when she and I train and work on projects, I'm not necessarily like, I don't do the stuff that, and we call ourselves Dilbert, and the stuff that I do with her, it isn't necessarily because I want other people to react. Obviously, I want people to like see what cool shit she and I are doing, but what I get out of it more than anything is the process of like, I'm not just creating with another creative person. I'm creating with someone that like I'm in love with, that knows me in a way that no one else knows me. And now we're experiencing something that I've been passionate about since I was 12 years old together. So even if no one saw a practice video with her and I, like I'd still come up with ideas, and I'd still force her to practice with me, because, you know, there's something about experiencing myself with her and being creative that doesn't compare to working with Bob James, for example, or Herbie Hancock. So it's like there's different experiences that I've had collaborating that feed me in different ways. But with regards to Bob James, Herbie Hancock, and Large Professor, I feel like those experiences really helped me get to where I'm at now in Antigua on Zoom, talking to you guys. Like those experiences fed me in a creative way with regards to like my legacy and what I'm gonna leave behind regarding my music. You know, Large Professor has taught me a lot about production, how to structure a song, how to lay scratches on a song. He produced Akinele's first album, Vagina Diner, the whole thing from beginning to end. And I got to see him work, and that guy, man, like he's the one that really gave me the blueprint for how to put together the Ablist.
Yeah.
I learned how to put together the Ablist by sitting in the Vagina Diner sessions with Akinele and Large Professor. And then Bob James and Herbie Hancock, those guys helped me bring out the jazz musician in me out onto the turntables more, you know, because that side of me was always there. I just didn't understand music theory and notes and measures and how to move a song. And those guys helped me with that, you know? So those three, I would say, with regards to Rob Swift and the legacy that I leave behind, I attribute a lot of my success to them.
We'd be remiss if, before we let you go, we didn't talk about what you're doing now, what you've just put out. You mentioned Dilbert with Dilly, right? Back in, it has to have been April, because it was like the 420 theme. Hey, is she there?
Yeah, she is.
Get her on.
Yeah.
Dilly.
I recognize that accent.
We've got one of your people on.
Yeah.
I'm from real England, though. I'm from Manchester.
Real England. Wow, that's cold.
England, is it?
That's cold.
I see how it is now. I see how it is.
This is the thing about English people. You guys can pick each other's accents so well.
Straight away.
Australians can't do that.
Yeah.
We all sound the same except for like 2 words here and there.
Really, is Australia just like one homogenous accent across the whole country?
It's just a lot of swearing.
Pretty much. Yeah, we just swear with every second word, you know. The only things you can really tell in Australia is if someone's from Queensland, they end every sentence with "hey."
Like
a question.
Canadian.
I was going to say that's Canadians.
Yeah, exactly like Canadians, yeah. And then other than that, it's just like my name or the word castle. It's either castle or castle, but wherever...
Castle.
That's similar
Castle
in
is
England.
castle. Grant is Grant.
Bath and Bath.
Grant.
So it's all flipped and backwards and weird. But other than that, yeah, we all sound the same. Yeah, English people are hilarious. You guys go, he's from like 20 miles up the that particular road.
Right. You can definitely tell, especially like you're from down south, obviously, but down south. You see, that's it. Anything south of Manchester is south. Like you talking about New York before, same.
Are above Watford's up north.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't even go to Birmingham. We don't even bother. But like in Manchester, if you go 5 miles one direction, 5 miles one direction, everybody sounds so different to my ears. Obviously, growing up here.
Yeah.
But my American friends generally are just like, do you just sound British? I'm like,
but it's funny because we've actually talked about this on an episode, and I'm sure Rob knows, like, or he can kind of agree. I mean, it's the same in the States, man. Like when you go down south, you can go to Florida, and there's a different Southern accent than it is in New Orleans. New Orleans accents, oh my God, they hey baby, like it's very, you know what I'm saying? But then you go to Florida, it's like, yeah, legit, like it's a little rugged, a little hard. But then like you go to New York, I love when New Yorkers say coffee. Oh man, like you get a old lady from New York that been smoking cigarettes since she was 10, and you get her to say coffee. Bro, it just melts my heart. I'm like, come on, let's go to Starbucks, baby. Come on, like for real. I'm telling you. So it's like that's one thing I love about the United States. I'm just a sucker for accents anyway. But yeah, like it's the same, bro. Like you can tell the difference, man. You know what I'm saying? You can definitely tell the difference.
I know.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that England's so much smaller. So with like England's probably like not even the size of an American state, like one state. Yet within England, every single little city and hamlet almost has its own version of the language. So it's just so much more this. Like
and we are all right. Everybody else is wrong.
That's it. Everybody's right. Yeah.
Whatever.
But don't you guys collaboration and the new EP is called The Cure, I believe.
Yeah, The Cure is the new EP that I released back in May. Actually released it a day after my birthday, which was really cool, May 15th. It's featured.
Wait a minute. May 15th is my birthday.
Oh, he's May 14th.
Oh, well, yeah. But wow, May 15th.
You know what? You know what that means, though? That's the same day, really, because I'm a day ahead of you.
Yeah.
We have the same birthday, technically.
That's crazy.
Hey,
that's
right on.
Insane, man. Wow. Yeah, that's why we get along so well.
That's it.
I released The Cure, and I put together that project during the pandemic. Like I had all this time on my hand, and in the months leading to the lockdown in the States, I'm actually glad you're sitting next to me because this chick over here was pushing me to put together another project. I think that
I was mentioning it. I was like, hey, could be cool.
Oh, no. You ladies have a way of being like, I was just mentioning it. Like,
like the nudge versus the shut.
I mentioned it a lot.
Planting some seeds. But, only because I care about you and want you to like do well and explore yourself. So I feel like once you master something, it's easy to sort of just feel like, I've completed it, and it might not be that much of an incentive to like keep growing and exploring.
Yeah.
It was more like for that sort of reason rather than.
That's super dope.
I wish all the women that have been in my life were so positive. There you go.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for that because she planted the seed. Through the fall of 2019, the beginning of this year, kept just mentioning it here and there in conversation, and then when the pandemic hit, I finally sat down and was like, all right, I'm going to put this project together. And I don't think I would have if you hadn't like just reminded me to do it.
You were so sneaky about it. Like Rob didn't say a word. He was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Kind of thinking he was just saying, yeah, just shut up. And then, it was maybe like a month into lockdown, probably like 3-4 weeks. And then he's like, oh, yeah, well, I've got like 1 or 2 songs left to like, shape up a bit, but I've finished. And I'm like, what? That's what you've been doing it now.
Yeah.
Didn't mention anything, just kind
That's
of
so dope.
Nice.
And
you showed
and
me
Johnny,
first, and then it was all. It's a really cool project. I'm very proud of you.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Like, I know Johnny. I know you've like gone out of your way to go and check it out.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I haven't checked it out yet. No, we're talking about it before.
Dude, you've got to check this one out because we were talking about sampling before. I swear to God, Rob's sampling a barbershop quartet.
Where?
Or something like that. Like in one of it, I was listening to it today, and well, I guess yesterday now. But I think which track is it? There's one. It's the one where DMT is like down an octave.
Oh
like
yeah,
his voice has changed. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
no, it could be Wormhole.
I don't know if it's
or it might be Mood. One of those two.
Mood. It's Mood.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. There's just, I was listening to it today. There was this one sample. It's like these four guys in harmony. I'm like, did he sample a barbershop quartet?
Well, it's
or like an old doo-wop group or something?
Yeah, it's like an old 40s sample that I use.
Yeah.
But it's so futuristic at the same time. That song came out like super modern.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's a really cool project as well. And you two did the Stay Home, Stay Stoned, that 421.
Right, exactly. And during the pandemic, I also put together a really cool mixtape celebrating 420. Although I don't smoke and I've never smoked in my life.
And he will never smoke.
Do it for the people, man. Do it for the people.
But like, it was funny because it was actually an idea that Alex had for her own mixtape. She wanted to put together a mixtape. It was like, I think I want to do a 420 mix because I have all this time on my hands and I might as well be productive. And without her even prompting me, I got up and started working on it.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, literally, I told him that. I went and made some food or something. I came back and he's like, already working. I'm like, you just completely sacked my idea of my project.
Yeah.
But then we ended up working on it together.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because obviously Rob's like not a stone in any way, but he still wanted to do this 420 mix and stay true to himself. So we weaved in this narrative of like anti-weed, but then pro-weed. And then by the end, the girl gets the guy to like try it and he's all like, wow, this is unreal.
That's amazing.
We did it. We accomplished that through music selection, and finding like cool anti-drugs, anti-marijuana
60s propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. On YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
And you found some like interesting little female voices that it's like an ambiguous message, but obviously in the context of the song, it flowed really well.
Yeah.
We sort of took a bunch of different genres and made it more like a journey, like a trip in a way, rather than just like lots of stone anthems. Made it like an experiential mix.
Right.
That's cool. Like you're saying, if you're not actually into weed anyway, then if you just jumped on that, you'd probably feel like you're jumping on a bandwagon that you don't want to, you don't belong on, if you know what I mean. You know, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not just a Grateful Dead album.
I encourage you guys to check the mix out if you haven't. It's really cool because it starts off where the male voice is anti-weed, and by the end of the mixtape, the male voice is like, all right, I could get with this. You know, and they did it by picking songs, like literally picking songs that helped us tell that story from beginning to end. So
and like excerpts of like movies and stuff. I can't quite remember exactly what we chose, but we blended a bunch of different chops.
That is dope, man.
Amazing.
I like
and also
together and do like, I'll do my little voice and then he does his voice. That's quite fun to
That's
do something that's creative.
No, it is very cool. Yeah, it is a very cool mixtape. Like everybody should check it out. Also, there's also cool footage of you guys doing because I feel like blowing Johnny's mind again real quick before we leave.
I'm ready.
You see you guys DJing together. You can check videos out on Be Real TV.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That would be Be Real from Cypress Hill.
Whoa, Be Real? Like
there it is.
Oh, snap.
He gets so excited.
Bro, I do. I can't help it, man. I love hip hop, bro. So it's like, I didn't even know he had like his own TV thing, like Be Real TV. That's dope. I gotta check that out because I've seen you guys DJing together like on your Instagram page, and I'm like, oh man, this is hard, man. Like you guys are just in the crib, just trading and just going for it. I love it, man. Love it.
Yeah, I miss that, man. Like we're here in Antigua and we have another week here before I'm able to bring her back with me to New York.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, like it's been fun and I love the beach and actually I gotta give props right now publicly to Ablist because she taught me how to swim out here. I didn't know how to swim.
Yeah, good job.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Hey guys, well done.
I'm trying to film some of it.
I was about to say there's got to be
Please
some
do.
great footage. There has to get a GoPro, get under the water to see his face under the water.
No, it's funny, but yeah, dude, I went my whole life not knowing how to swim, and I learned how to swim out here. So the trip was worth it just for that.
Yeah,
That's what's
But
up.
I am ready to go back home and like get creative again
Yeah,
because
me too.
I miss touching turntables and I miss just practicing and walking into my studio because that's where I'm really connected with myself is when I'm on the turntables and being able to do that with Alex.
It adds a deeper level to
Yeah.
a relationship, or probably if a friendship or relationship,
Mhm.
whatever. Just having that connection with somebody, but then also being able to create together. And we
Definitely.
come up with some really fun things. Like sometimes we'll wake up in the morning and be like, "Oh shit, it's Biggie's birthday. Should we come up with something?" And then that's how the Biggie like tribute routine came out. We did that all in one day. I have absolutely no idea how we did that because it takes like a week or two or a week to kind of get your ideas down and then practice it. Like, but yeah, we did that all in a day, and I was quite impressed.
Yeah.
with that.
That's
dope,
amazing.
man.
Oh yeah.
We
That's
did
amazing.
the green room stuff for Rob, the Cure like listening release party. Rob and I did a little that was like our debut Dilbert set. It's really fun and it challenges me as well, and like I think it helps us grow together as like DJs for sure.
That's super cool, man.
That's amazing.
I wanted to mention too. So, The Cure. What was the reason for not only? Well, I mean, you guys released the EP, but you also did an instrumental version, which I'm so happy you did. Because like while I'm driving, I write rhymes while I drive. It's like super dangerous, but I do it.
But you actually write?
Well, no, I got my phone out, so like if I'm at a
Stop doing
stoplight,
that.
I'll keep
Stop
like
doing that.
saying, I'll keep saying like 2 bars over and over again, and then when I get to a stoplight, I try to write it down real quick, and then I just keep driving, and then I keep coming up with bars before I forget them and stuff. It's I can't do it sitting down at the crib. That's another story. But anyway,
He's got to be on the move.
right. But thank you for that. But what was the purpose behind that? Like releasing the instrumental part?
I'd like to say that it was all my idea, but it wasn't. The owner of Fat Beats Records, the label that put The Cure out, this guy named Joe Abajian, who is he's more than just an owner of a record company that I'm signed to. Like he's a dear friend. And the first project that I ever released, because we're all tying this together perfectly. Like the first project that I released as a producer, as a person that handled himself in a recording environment, in a studio, was a single that Fat Beats released. And the owner of Fat Beats is Joe. And he's still around, he's still putting out music. And I approached him about releasing The Cure. And sure enough, he was like, yo, let's do it. And he was like, yo, we should also do a instrumental version of the EP. So let's just drop the EP May 15th. And then the last Friday of May, let's put out an instrumental version of the album, because a lot of people don't know this about Joe, but like he's a businessman and he owns a label and all that, but he's also a DJ.
Wow.
And he used to breakdance and he used to manage myself, Raider, and Mr. Sinister when we were known as the X-Men. He used to manage us, and he put out a lot of our project and a lot of our materials and projects. Mixtapes. Like I learned how to sell mixtapes and make money on a weekly basis through his record store. He owned a record store called Fat Beats in Manhattan, and I would dub 30 cassette tapes of mixtape like Soulful Fruit, take them to Fat Beats. He'd be like, all right, I'll buy them off you for $10. I'm gonna sell them for $15 to make my little $5. And when I run out of tapes, bring me back more. Like he helped me understand the business behind what I'm doing as a creative person, that like I could actually make money off DJing.
Exactly.
And to this day, he's still around helping me and helping me further my career, stuff like that. So it was his idea to put out the instrumental album, and it's just dope that we're ending this little conversation talking about him, man, because I wouldn't be a producer. I don't think the Ablist wouldn't have come together the way it did if it wasn't for the experience that I had. He's the one that gave me my first shot at producing a song. So
that's awesome, man.
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle.
Seems so the case with me.
Yeah, tell him I personally said thanks for that, man, because it's not every day that, like back in the day, you used to get those albums that, they dropped and then they came out with an instrumental as well, So, and especially, that was like big in like the 90s, especially with like R&B singles and things like that.
I got the old Michael Jackson singles on the other side, no vocals.
Yeah. So I think that's like super cool getting back into that,
Exactly, and the instrumental allows you to take in the song different. Like get to hear the energy that drives the vocals and inspires the scratches to sound the way they sound. And it's hard to do that if you just hear it all as one final product. And when you hear it in layers, you could kind of just process the music differently. So that was all Joe, man. And he's just an authentic hip hop dude, and who decided, you know what, I have a business mentality and I understand how to run a business. Let me give these guys opportunities to, just project their creativity, because the truth is a label like Def Jam probably isn't going to sign a Rob Swift and let me do a song like Turntablist Anthem. You know what I mean? But it takes someone like Joe who respects just creativity and doesn't care if it's going to go gold or platinum. He just wants me to be creative and wants to help me do that because he understands creativity. So big shout to Joe. We call him DJ Jab. I love that.
Jab.
Wow. Word.
Thank you, man. Well, it's been awesome having you coming on, man. Thank you so much.
Man. Thanks for having me, and thanks for letting Alex sit in the end.
A little impromptu feature.
Yeah, and, I appreciate you guys, and I want to give big thanks to Grant for just being an awesome student, and I look forward to seeing you, Grant, evolve with this new technique of DJing that you've been learning, man. Well, not to say that you haven't been DJing before me, but you're DJing in a way that I'm not accustomed to seeing from you, and these posts that you're throwing up on IG and all that, man. So it's been fun to see, man. And I just want to thank you guys for reminding me of a time in my life where I was just being creative and expressing myself. And the Ablist album, man, I don't think about that album much because I'm always on to the next thing, but it was good to just look back and appreciate the impact that project has had on people.
Yeah. Again, can't thank you enough for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. It's just been, I told these boys it'd be great to talk to you. This has more than exceeded our expectations. And this, the Ablist, this really turned out to be the perfect river vein that all the conversation has flowed off. I can't believe how beautifully that worked out. Yeah. But we've been talking about kind of the Ablist by Rob Swift. Make sure you all go and check out Stay Home, Stay Stoned from Dilbert with Dilly.
Word.
By the way, it was lovely to meet Dilly.
Very nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you guys as well and eavesdrop on this really cool conversation you've had.
Cool. That's good. Thanks.
Yeah. Also, The Cure with Rob Swift and The Real DMT. Man, I love that guy, by the way. That guy's got he's got some cool flow to him, man.
Yeah, man.
Cool hair too.
His content is powerful too.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But yeah, we've been Bones, Twigs, and Wigs. Final impressions. Check us out on all platforms that you get your podcast at and all that. And we'll see you another time.
One more thing. Rob.
One more thing.
When you get back to New York, man, if you run into KRS-One or Nas, please tell them to DM me. Hit me up. Yeah, man, I need those interviews, man. I don't have much money, but it'll make a fan's day. Okay, so.